what happens when community media meets community media, and also what happens when two PACTV ladies take on their movie-inspired New Year's resolutions. Well, you get 20 plus minutes of pure podcast delight. You're listening to Open Here, a podcast produced by PACTV. I'm Tiff Phillips. Let's get started. Hi there. Hope all is well and wonderful. We have a great show for you here today. He began at the Duxbury Clipper 4 years ago, and since then, he's been serving up local news to the Duxbury community. We get the scoop with Duxbury Clipper editor Matthew Nadler. All right, we're here with Matthew Nadler, the editor for the Duxbury Clipper. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I got to know, what's your background? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in North Jersey. I grew up in Montclair, New Jersey. I went to college at Clark University in Worcester, and then went to graduate school for journalism at Boston University. And ever since I moved up to Boston, I've been living in Massachusetts. I sort of discovered, my interest in journalism probably started at Clark. I actually took a course with the Alan Lupo, who was a very well-known columnist for the Boston Globe. And that sort of sparked my interest. And, I went to BU, got my degree, also met my wife, and from there, I worked in journalism a bit, and then I actually took a bit of a detour working in technical writing, and eventually I came around and was hired, I'm going to say about 20 years ago, I'm guessing. Sorry if I don't remember the exact date, to work at the Memorial Press Group papers that were located, like the old Colony Memorial, that was located in Plymouth at the time. I then stayed with the company for a few years when they merged and became part of the Gatehouse Media empire, as you might say. And I was the editor of papers in Halifax and Duxbury there, and also in Pembroke. And I was let go from that job. I was let go from that job, and I started my own website here in Plymouth called the Manamet Current, which I managed for about 7 years, and then I decided to shut that down, and I was hired as the editor of the Clipper.
Very cool. So can you tell us a little bit about the Clipper? It started in like the 50s, right?
Yes. The Clipper was founded by John and Bobby Cutler in 1950, May of 1950. The story goes, John wrote a book about it, which I was required reading for new employees. And the story goes that he and Bobby were playing bridge with some friends, and one of the friends complained that they didn't know what was going on in Duxbury. And from there on, they started a newspaper. And it's been going on. It's remained in the Cutler family ever since then. And it's been going strong for over 60 years, or 70 years actually.
Oh wow, yeah.
Well, think about 50. I mean, we had plans for a big celebration in 2020, but
what happened in 2020 that it didn't happen? Just kidding.
There were some things.
So, what was it like to become the editor of this kind of established?
It was really exciting. It was. I had worked for. I was familiar with Duxbury because when I was working for Memorial Press Group or then working for Gatehouse, I was the editor of the paper that they published in Duxbury called The Reporter. So I guess we sort of thought of ourselves as the Reporter as the upstart paper, But when I came to the Clipper, gave me some insight into what Duxbury was like. But when I came to the Clipper, it was really interesting to be really in charge of a newspaper that really is an institution. It's one of the really nice things about working for the Clipper is people do really appreciate their newspaper. And people always tell me, I love the Clipper. We love the Clipper. And it's really nice to be part of that, and provide people with that sort of information.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, it kind of depends on the day.
Right.
We go to press on, we come out on Wednesday. We go to press on Tuesday. So my job includes both writing. I'm also one of the main reporters of the paper. So I might be covering a story at night especially. I do a lot of the government meeting coverage. Editing, we have a number of freelancers who write for us, and I might be editing their material. I could be any sort of press release, community announcement that comes in goes through me. So I'm reading and editing those. reading letters to the editor, obituaries, almost. So it's a combination of editing material that's come to me, assigning stories. That's also important. Let our writers know, here's something I think I'd like you to work on, or same thing with photographers. Assigning our photographers stories, or going through their pitches also, and writing my own. Either being at a meeting in town or writing a story. That's and I can't say it's like a. And last but not least, and this is vitally important, the actual process of putting reviewing the pages as they're being assembled. Mondays and Tuesdays we're really focused on actually assembling the paper. Making sure everything's there. So that's really sort of been, from one day to the next. And then, Tuesday afternoon, put it on the website and take a deep breath and do it all over again.
I mean, that's exciting. It's a never-ending, busy.
It is. And you never know what's going to happen. There are weeks where everything explodes, or that's being a little dramatic. And there are weeks where, it's a quiet week and you're, just sort of keeping people up to date with the, standard things.
So what were some of your goals in coming to the Clipper? What did you want to bring to the paper?
I think one of the good things about the Clipper is it was an established paper. It had, the Cutler family had established sort of the template of what they want. The editors who had worked there before me and the reporters all found it. So it was almost like it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
I think I'd say that, it's a hard question. I think that really just to maintain the quality of the paper, find ways to improve sort of maybe in some ways I've wanted to improve some of the bigger picture coverage, issues like the environment, or things like that. But really, it was really just becoming the editor of a well-established newspaper, which hopefully, it's going to still be there. When I'm not there, it'll still be there. And, it'll be there for a long time.
So we're both community media.
Right.
Why does the world need the PACTVs and the Duxbury Clippers of the world? Why is hyperlocal coverage important?
Because no one else is going to do it. One of the, it's to go back to the original story about the founding story of the Clipper. The specific complaint that this bridge game, according to David Cutler's book, was one of their guests didn't know about a church social, and that sounds a church social, whatever. It's not like an important news story, but it is important. It's important that people in their community know about the church socials. It's important people know how much money their government is spending. It's important that people know about what the kids at school are doing. It's also important to know about the church social. And, and I think right now there's so many places where people don't really have an idea of what's going on in their community. And, they don't know what's going on in their community, and that has a really detrimental effect on civic life.
So along that line, we both know that local news and journalism in general is in a period of immense disruption.
Good word for it.
What do you see as the future is this a working model?
The Clipper?
For maybe print media in general.
The Clipper is one of many working models.
Yeah.
I think that, as far as being a print newspaper, I think there's still we are a traditional weekly advertiser-supported newspaper, just like there used to be all over the country. And that's an important thing about the Clipper is we have a great base of advertisers. We have people selling our advertising. We have businesses in our town, mostly in our town. There are a few that aren't in Duxbury, but they still advertise in the Clipper. And I think that really that's still a good model. But at the same time, I tried my hand at an online newspaper, I don't know what to call it, myself, and in a lot of places that's probably is a good model which can work. That's one of the great things right now is with everything going on, there are a lot of people out there who are trying things, they're experimenting, with websites, with their, I think, a couple of people are starting up newspapers in the last couple of years on this area. or New England in general. So I think the Clipper is one of many very good, successful working models.
What keeps you here? What keeps you in journalism? Is it your passion? Is it something that you love?
It's just fun. I mean, it's great to be. I'm kind of a civic politics government nerd, and it's great to know about what's going on myself, and having an idea of having I don't write many editorials, but have my own opinions about things. But really to just it's something I've really always enjoyed doing. It was. I thought it was a fun way to make a living when I was back in college, and it really has ups and downs, but in most part, it's still a fun way to make a living.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I love to end this with this last question. What do you think the future holds for you?
Well, I'm old enough to think that the future might hold a retirement. To be honest,
that's a good goal.
Right now, my future is to be the editor of the Duxbury Clipper. I don't really necessarily have a plan beyond that. Things could change. Either, like I said, retire, But right now, it really is just to sort of be where I am.
It's nice to be content in where you are and to kind of live your best life and be very happy with this life. I mean, and you have a very interesting job, and it was so great to have you here today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to switch gears and bring you a little slice of entertainment as Melissa and I delve into our movie-inspired New Year's resolutions. Have a listen. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We're back! Woo! How was your holidays?
It was fabulous.
Oh my gosh, did you get into the Christmas spirit?
We've been in the Christmas spirit since October.
I feel you on that.
So it was just a accumulation.
Awesome.
And then we did the 12 days of Christmas. So we keep rolling. We'll probably roll till February.
Let's keep it going. All right.
Yeah.
So today we are going to cover movie-inspired New Year's resolutions.
Sorry.
This was an idea that came to me in the shower one morning, and I was just like, oh, we're doing this. And then Melissa was like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Well, I just roll with you, Tiff. You know that I would never say no, but I'm just rolling with you on it.
This is how the process starts. I come up with an idea, usually in the shower on my way to work. I get to my computer. I walk into Melissa's office, and she just looks at me like, what? And then I give her my idea, and we go with it.
And we're perfect. Like, okay, fine.
And then she just does it.
And then we just whip something out.
She's super amicable about this, and I appreciate that about her. Yay, work friends.
Yay.
So let's get it started. What you got for your first?
Okay, so I came up with two.
Okay.
Because my view on New Year's resolutions is that I look at them as learning experiences. So it's something time to try something new, time to learn something new about myself, self-care, that type of thing. And something that's going to be fun and rewarding. So this was not fun and rewarding. It was a learning lesson. National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh, brilliant.
Not in that way.
Now the general franchise or
no vacation when we're going to Wally World.
Oh, we're going to Wally World.
So family road trip. Woo! Family vacation. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Right? Because I don't know if you're like me or the listeners are like me. When I plan a family vacation, it's like, okay, type A. We have the airplane. We're going to here. We're going to this airport. We're getting this car. We're doing this. We're right. And there are other stuff to fill in, but that's very important, right? Flexibility is not my middle name. Mm-hmm. Going with the flow, not my thing necessarily. I like plans. I like strong plans, and then you can flex within that.
I always have a checklist the night before. Anytime Sharon and I go somewhere, I always have a checklist of everything. Yeah. And then the next day I have a checklist of everything we need. Because obviously you can't pack everything. You can't pack your medications and your makeup or whatever. You have to do that the day of. So I always have two lists. Because, No. But you're right. You can... And
you have to allow for the humanness of not being perfect.
You're right. And so I think this New Year is about just rolling with it.
Learning to let things go.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, things, Is it the end of the world? In that moment, yes. And overall, no.
Yeah.
Everyone else is still living. You're okay. You're okay.
That's a good lesson.
And family vacations, maybe don't do them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's a whole other. We need a psychologist on for that discussion. That's a whole other thing.
All right. So I'm going to go with Brittany Runs a Marathon. Have you ever seen this movie?
It's on my watch list, and I haven't gotten to it yet because,
Yeah, it's great. It's about a girl who's kind of come to a crossroads in her life where she's stuck. She's very insecure. She's not feeling her healthiest. I guess she's heavy. I don't find her heavy at the beginning, but that's just me. But yeah, so she's not feeling her best. So she decides, I'm going to learn how to run. So she starts by running around the block. And then the next day she goes a little bit further and then a little bit further. And then she signs up to run the New York City Marathon, which is huge. It's actually based on a true story.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really interesting. In the process, she loses weight and that's not really the moral of the story, which I appreciate because it seems like every movie is like, you're better off because you lost weight. But this girl really found herself and found a better version of her that came with running that marathon. Because, exercise teaches you a lot of things.
Right.
So I think my goal, obviously I'd love to lose weight, don't get me wrong. But it's honestly just to be the best version of yourself. I really, that's my goal.
Well, it's hard because as you're making that transition, as you're going through that journey, because it really is a journey, you're changing physically and mentally, and if you want to say spiritually as well, because now you have to reevaluate what you think about yourself,
right,
and how others react to you,
right,
and who's with you and who's not, because sometimes that changes.
Yeah. Side note, do you know what I don't like about people losing weight? It's like, oh, you're so pretty now. It's like, you were pretty before, you were pretty now, you're pretty after. Like, don't let anyone dictate because of your size how pretty you are.
That's a whole other thing too. And it's like, it's just, you see in like the high schools and, and the younger kids, and it's like, it's always there. It's always like that undercurrent.
Right.
Of like, where's that line? Because they ride it sometimes really close. And pretty can be quirky.
Yeah.
Pretty can be odd.
Yeah.
And what's pretty?
Right. Exactly.
And pretty can be natural. Pretty can be made up. Pretty can be anything that you want it to be. And it's just, it doesn't matter.
I know.
As long as you're happy with yourself.
Exactly. That is the goal. That is the ultimate goal.
But you don't realize that until you're halfway through your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure things like social media doesn't help. It doesn't help that you have all these, these one-sided definitions of what beauty is. Mm-hmm. It's not fair. So you've got to kind of find it within yourself because you're not going to get it.
Well, and then you go on like Facebook or whatever, you find these online support groups. And they're just like, and you're like, okay, and you share because you feel it's a safe space because you're all on this journey together. And then people attack each other there. It's like, whoa, people, back off.
Such a scary place. I'm telling you.
Take a beat and just...
Social media is a lawless wasteland sometimes.
I would love to create like an alter figure, an alter universe for me, or an alter personality, and just be like, tell everyone like exactly what I think. And they couldn't find me, because... It's like, I want to just be like, stop, that's stupid. Yeah. There's no, who do you think you are? Right. Because I wouldn't do that.
I know.
I mean, I do mentally sometimes, but it's just, I'm like, it's got to stop. It's not helpful.
Yeah. So the goal is this year to be the best version of myself. And everyone should try to do that as well. I'm just going to go for it.
Why not?
What's your next one?
Julie and Julia.
I love the movie.
Isn't it? Okay, first of all, Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci.
Can we talk a bit about, for the folks at home, what that movie is about?
It is based on a blog that, don't remember her, Julia Powell started, the Julia blog project, where she was making the attempt to cook every day through the cookbook of Julia Child, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, which is not an easy book. I have it. My mom handed it down to me.
It's tricky.
It's not an easy book. I look at it and I'm just flipping. I'm like, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope. Like, yeah, we're on to volume 2. Nope.
But like a side note to add that Julia was working in, I think, insurance when 9/11 happened.
Yeah, so
And
she was taking phone calls from the victim families of
Yeah.
9/11 along with the general public about the rebuilding of the World Trade Center. So it wasn't a happy place to be to begin with. And she did this because she needed something to do because where she was in her life, she's young, she was in her 20s, I believe, married, living in the city. And you just got into that place where it's like, I need to do something different. And she had always adored Julia. I mean, who doesn't love Julia Child?
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. She's such a class, such an icon.
Yeah.
And she enjoyed cooking, so she's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a commitment. I'm going to blog about it because then I have to follow through. And I'm going to take you on this journey of going through. Her issue with the lobster, it took her forever to do the lobster.
I think she was one of the first folks to monetize like a blog.
Yeah.
That wasn't unheard of at the time.
Yeah, and it was just because this was back early 2000s.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, and she was just doing it for that. And then, she also, along with that, she had to deal with the issue of, she wasn't expecting it because when you do a blog, you never know if it's going to catch or not.
Right.
And so you do it more for yourself and whoever you may find it. But it blew up.
Yeah.
Huge. And so then she had to walk this line. She kind of went a little self-centered about it and lost her way in regards to her relationship with her family and her friends and her husband. And kind of had this, come to Jesus moment where it's like, okay, find the moderation in it. But just learning how to do certain skills that you never had before. Having the right pans.
Right.
Buying 5 tons of butter.
Right.
You can't do that today because of the price. But,
Right.
So it was a learning thing, but with Julia, and it flips back, for people who haven't seen the movie, it flips back to the 50s with Julia and her husband, Paul, in France, in the little apartment they have, and Julia's story of going to the Sorbonne, I think it was, and being the first female there, and her story about how she had to overcome all these challenges to find her place in the world that she was creating. And then it flips back to how that was interpreted by Julie in current day. And it was just really interesting because in her mid-40s, Julia Child's like, I have this gift that I want to explore, this gift of cooking. And so it's finding your gift wherever you are in your life.
Yeah.
And having the guts to say, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Whether it be a job change. I mean, she wasn't doing anything. They had come out of World War II. She was with the OSS prior to the CIA, which became the CIA. And so just recreating herself as a wife and everything. And so how can sometimes take you a lifetime to find your passion and to find what you love, but also opening yourself up to new experiences.
Right.
And how you should do something at least once, because whether or not you liked it, you learned something from it, like trying to cut a lobster.
Right.
While it's still on you, alive in front of you. Do you want to do that or not? Well, you do it, and then you find out, not so much.
I think also what the takeaways from both people, both characters, both real people, is that kind of do you and the rest will follow. Like a lot of times now with social media, I think, I'll go back to social media. Yeah. I think people do a lot of things to try to get likes and get attention. But if you do what you love, that's contagious. That catches.
That's where you see the success.
Exactly.
I mean, there are all these cooking shows on TV and everything. But if you look at the ones that are really successful, like Ina Garten, these classic people, they love what they do, and they've been able to change and morph it, and they just want to share who they are and what they've learned.
Right.
And that's what makes it an experience, because you're learning from people who love what they do. Yeah. And they want to share it. Exactly. So why not? Yeah, so that's what, we're going to do. What is our goal? We're focusing on breads this year. Ooh. Yeast is not my friend.
No.
So we're going to overcome that issue this year. So there might be a lot of breads coming in. We'll see how it goes.
I like breads. I like breads a lot.
Carbs.
Carbs are life. Carbs are life.
Carbs.
All right. So back to me. I'm going to tell you About The Sound of Music. So
The hills are alive.
Oh my God.
Can you see us running through the mountains, spinning while a helicopter spins around us?
There's so many takeaways from Sound of Music, I gotta say. There's just so many beautiful things you can take away from it. One, don't be afraid to follow your heart, and don't be afraid to fall in love. Also, sometimes you can't contain who you are. Like, there was a really long period of time I tried to hide the fact that I was a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my whole life, I've just, like, I did never embrace it.
You stayed in the box.
I did. I never embraced the fact that I was just a strange and unusual person. And all of a sudden, like, in my 30s, I kind of embraced, like, okay, I'm a weirdo. And it's okay to be a weirdo. And I don't know if it's okay. I think it's okay for everybody to be a weirdo, but I really just embraced that and really started enjoying that fact about myself that I might be against the grain.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
Because everyone else is too.
Right. But yeah, that movie is incredible.
That's yeah. Well, it should be coming on TV soon.
I know. Julie Andrews, what a national treasure. Gosh. Also, I think the moral of this story is that you should be musical about everything.
Oh.
We should be well, think about it. We should just have a musical day and everyone has to sing.
I was thinking that, but I wasn't. I was like, or we dress up as characters from, like, I don't know, pick a musical. We could do Les Mis. We can reenact Les Mis.
Oh my God, can we have Elizabeth sing through the local scene, or through the weekly show?
Yeah, no. Good. If you
I'll
want to.
I'll put it in the suggestion box. It's okay.
We have a suggestion box. That's funny. You think we have a suggestion box.
As Elizabeth just gives me her trash can.
Recycle.
Reuse. Alrighty. Well, thanks for playing this magical game with us. This was really fun. I guess we'll see you next time. Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Tiff.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to the amazing Melissa for hanging out with me outside of our offices. I want to thank the one and only Matthew Nadler for being our guest today. It was great to hear your story. And of course, I want to thank you for listening. You've been listening to Open Here, a podcast produced by Plymouth Area Community Television. PACTV is the community media provider for the Massachusetts towns of Plymouth, Pembroke, Kingston, and Duxbury. To see more of our content, visit pactv.org. I'm Tiff Phillips. Thanks for tuning in. Let's hang out again soon. Hi friends, if you like this video by The Local Scene, share the love and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe.